この戦いには、絶対に勝つ。
Hi, I'm Daniel Chlebowczyk A.K.A. Berzerk, and I'll be talking to you about how the environment comes into play in DOA 5, starting with walls. Slamming the opponent directly into the wall, you get a chance for a free air juggle. But when you slam the opponent at an angle, the opponent falls to the side and in most cases cannot be juggled. However, if you slam an airborne opponent into the wall, you do not get the ability to follow up after and the opponent drops to the floor. Different types of walls grant different amounts of damage. Remember, some stun and air juggle properties change into wall slams when you're near a wall. So, make sure to modify your combos and setups in order to use this to your advantage. Also, there are some specific wall slams that prevent the opponent from being able to do wake-up attacks. Ropes function the same as walls when the opponent is slammed into them from close range. However, if the opponent is slammed into ropes from a distance, the opponent will ricochet back, stunned, giving you the potential for a mix-up. Just remember that the follow-up after the rope ricochet is not guaranteed, and the opponent is still able to hold. The trash can danger zone in Scramble also behaves similarly to normal walls, but an unblockable but holdable trash can falls onto the opponent from above after the wall slam. By choosing the right air juggle after the wall slam, the trash can fall onto the opponent just after the second wall slam and before the knockdown. This forces them back to their feet, stunned, and can set them up for a guaranteed relaunch and a more damaging combo. You get 2 chances per match, so make sure you take full advantage of it when it happens. The coconut danger zones on Zack Island behave similarly to trash can danger zone, except that they do not guarantee a follow-up after slamming the opponent into the palm tree. Slamming the opponent into a bouncing wall gives you a wall bounce and the potential for an air juggle. Unlike normal walls, you will still get the wall bounce whether the opponent is grounded or airborne. When you slam the opponent into an exploding danger zone, these special walls will send the opponent flying halfway across the stage and put the opponent in a ground bounce state, giving the potential for an air juggle. Again, these walls function the same for both grounded and airborne opponents. Slamming a grounded or airborne opponent into a breakable wall or object will put the opponent into a long sit-down stun, which does not allow them to hold for a short duration. Taking advantage of these breakable objects can give the potential of a guaranteed follow-up. However, if the opponent was air juggled after being slammed into these breakable objects, they cannot get slammed into the wall at the end of the air juggle. The only exception to this is if they were air thrown after the air juggle. Just be aware that some breakable walls, such as the wall to the player 1 side at the start of the match in home, do not cause a sit-down stun. Instead, it knocks down the opponent and collapses, forcing both players into the next room. Slamming a grounded or airborne opponent into a fence will send the opponent to the other side of the fence stunned, but still being able to hold. As the attacker follows the opponent over the fence, the attacker has the option to either perform a mid-punch or mid-kick fence attack by pressing P or K, or land on the other side without a fence attack and the potential of a mix-up. The trap wall marked with an X in the hot zone is another special wall where if a grounded or airborne opponent was slammed into it, the wall would explode, sending the opponent quickly to the ground. However, it is still possible to get some more guaranteed damage with the correct follow-up just before the opponent hits the ground. Some stage barriers have invisible walls which the opponent cannot get slammed into. Instead, stun and air juggle properties function as they would normally, only the opponent does not get pushed back any farther because of the invisible wall. Slamming the opponent into specific areas of certain stages will activate a series of background events that can have an impact on the stage as well as the flow of the match. These events cause temporary positional danger zones that can affect the player standing in their path and in some cases even grant a guaranteed follow-up. Hitting the electric generators or the yellow bars in Scramble will cause the roof pillars to collapse on impact with a crane that begins moving. Hitting one of the 3 Showtime signs in the Tiger Show will cause the Tigers to run along whichever path is lit on the floor after the ringleader shouts, "Go!" When you break the large sign onto the rail track in Street, it causes a huge collision and one of the train compartments will crash onto the side of the stage. In Flow, when you break the tree anchoring the raft will start moving until it slams into a giant rock, causing the raft to break. The floor in Lab is considered a danger zone, as it grants more damage than a normal floor if the opponent was slammed into it. Landing an attack that would slam the opponent into the ground on a breakable floor will send the opponent to the lower level of the stage. Some breakable floors only require 1 hit, while others require 2. However, the follow-up potential of a move might be lost because of the ground break, so choose your attacks carefully. Water and ice surfaces are considered slippery floors. These types of floors cause low strikes to have better stun properties on counter or high counter strike, making them a deadly tool in starting the critical stun game. Also, some low strikes can even cause a slip stun, which is a stun that does not allow the player to hold for a short duration, and in some cases this can even guarantee some follow-ups. Being at the higher end of a slope allows longer air juggles, and being at the lower end limits your air juggles. The same happens when standing at the higher or lower ends of uneven surfaces. If the opponent's back is to a stage ledge, they can be sent to the lower level of the stage by some strokes, throws, holds, or even an air juggle. Slamming the opponent into the ceiling will put the opponent in a sit-down stun, which they cannot hold out of for a short duration, allowing a guaranteed follow-up. Remember, if you manage to slam the opponent into a breakable object after the ceiling slam, you will get a ground bounce instead of another sit-down stun, which you can still use to extend your combo in some cases. Cliffhangers are triggered by slamming the opponent into a specific stage edge, such as the yellow bars after the roof collapse in Scramble, or the raft edge after it hits the giant rock in Flow. As the cliffhanger sequence activates, the defender must press any button to hang onto the ledge, otherwise they will drop down and be dealt heavy damage. As the attacker, you have the option of an auto combo by pressing P or K, a throw which deals slightly more damage by pressing H plus P, or simply doing nothing by not pressing any button. The decision you make can be delayed until just before contact. As the defender, you have the option of blocking the possible strike by pressing H. This leads to no damage to both players and the situation is reset on the lower level. Or you can throw escape the possible throw by pressing H plus P, which will cause minor damage to the attacker as well as a knockdown. Bear in mind that if the attacker chooses to press nothing and the defender goes for a throw tech, the defender's throw tech animation will still come out, dealing minor damage to the attacker. So it's always better to choose the auto combo option as the attacker if you want to avoid the risk of getting any damage at the end of the cliffhanger sequence. There are danger zones that can only be activated by a power blow aimed towards them. These include the flying car in Scramble, the boulder in Sanctuary, the clown's mouth in The Show, the falling elevator parts in Depth, and finally the helicopter in Hot Zone. In some situations, these danger zones can also grant a guaranteed follow-up. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, favourite and subscribe, and click here for another tutorial. Okay, these include I've got to cough again, 1 second. Okay, I'll be right now. Cool.